Shields, Photon, Acid Blast, all of that definitely worth a thought. I go for the Acid because my opponent's units, especially his chunky units, are all on the ground, which is not the case for me, so in this specific case the Overlords are actually superior. My opponent takes the shield device, or portable shield, and puts it on the other Vulcan, so he has some pretty chunky Vulcans, though of course I have some pretty good DPS in these Overlords. They did get nerfed recently as well, but they are definitely still a good unit, I think. Now these crawlers, despite Vulcans being on the field, have definitely been doing some good work. Even in the last round they did about 5,000 damage, and if they get through they can absolutely snipe a tower very quickly. Like, look at this, they are starting to do over 300 damage, and this thing, it's going to go down in like 11 crawler attacks, which happen super quickly. He does put another upgrade down in his tower, I think that's what he did. Vulcan range, I think, has already been there last turn. Last round. Or did he put Subterranean on the cross? I'm not entirely sure. He also gets shields on his fangs. I just continue to drop Overlords and put Wasps up this round, and I think that is all what I really did. Maybe I should have invested some more into tanks, but into snipers, not really. Anyway, the match is continuing, and it should start any moment. Yeah. No protection against the Acid is definitely going to be a big advantage for me. I could have even dropped it further behind, but honestly, things are just like they are now standing in the Acid as the fight begins. I think that is about as good positioning, as forward a positioning, as I could realistically even hope to accomplish. So I don't necessarily think that was bad positioning, I think that was actually pretty decent positioning. The marksmen are definitely hitting super hard, and the fangs are buying a ton of time. A lot of my Overlord force has already gone down, and they haven't even gotten to touch these, the Vulcans, significantly at least. My Overlords push through here. Wasps are still quite a way away from spawning, and my opponent's marksmen still are hitting hard. That said, there's not many left. New Wasps spawn, though this is a... yeah, it has the health equivalent of a level 4 Vulcan. A single level 1 Overlord is not going to be able to take that out quickly enough. Acid, though, is still on the ground, for the next round anyway. Another combat power, Orbital Bombardment, which is in favor of my opponent, because, once again, I can't shield my air units, and Wasps especially are very vulnerable to orbital strikes. On the other hand, he can shield his marksman, though of course his Chaff will take damage from the orbital as well. Then again, so will my Chaff. These crawlers, how much damage does that do? 2,500. So if I get the health upgrade here and get Subterranean, they could actually survive a missile strike, which is crazy. I do drop some of my own Vulcans. These shielded fangs are now officially a problem. And do remember that I'm basically on a timer, because once these nukes come off cooldown, he's going to have a massive advantage for that round. What else do I end up doing? I still have a bit of supply. I think this is where I actually get upgrades. Is it not? What did I do here? Ah, I got the missiles, the incendiary bombs. And I got temporary upgrades because it is the... like, you can look at this. I think if my opponent gets a really good round, he's not going to kill me instantly. But if I get a good round, I get to take him out. So it is the time to start investing. This in the middle instantly gets cleaned up, and it's definitely a harsh round for me. He did shield against the orbital, so my orbital didn't do a whole lot. These crawlers, unfortunately, don't get the marksman. Another wave spawns. The giants on the ground actually doing a decent amount of tanking against the enemy here. I do end up taking the tower, but there's nothing really left to benefit from the tower degradation. This Vulcan still dies from the acid, and that's basically all that happens. My opponent does end up taking a significant chunk of my health, though it's not terrifying. We are in round number 9. Melting Point and Fortress are an option. Also Hacker potentially. Mustangs as well. We'll see what happens. Mustangs, at least for my opponent, I think are a viable option here because of all this Wasp production. But he has had such an amazing time with late Fangs and with quick reload marksmen that he can get rid of my Wasps, which don't have the shield tech, quite easily actually. I end up taking the Mustangs because I'm definitely noticing that Chaff here is the deciding factor here. Whoever can kill his opponent's Chaff quickly enough will almost inevitably win the game. I still end up leveling my crawlers, which basically translates into levels for my opponent's Vulcans. That said, is that Vulcan health so incredibly important? Because I do a lot of damage with these overlords, and now they have range. I don't have a lot of supply left, but I do have 1 deployment left, and I can definitely buy out. So I think I'm doing something here. He gets health on the tower here, upgrades it by 1. I do end up deploying some additional chaff and just throwing it out there. This is in order to bait some of his potential Vulcan incendiary missiles, but I never checked and didn't notice that he's actually not running that tech at all. So that is really bad on my part, at least. That said, there is an advantage to leveling these crawlers, and that is that they will go through the fire and still survive. You can see them taking a lot longer to die in the fire, but arguably it's a very, very small advantage because my opponent's Vulcans are just really good. On the other hand, here you can really see how they start distracting the marksmen, even though they have been through quite a chunk of fire. This Vulcan on level 3 is actually healing quite a lot, but it is not enough to go up against all of this firepower in Overlords. I do end up taking the tower, but all of my chaff is dead. And there still is a very chunky opponent left. My overlords start to fall like flies against his high level and max teched marksmen. And what looked like it could have been the end of the game actually isn't the end of the game because these marksmen are insane. Once again, my opponent takes a small chunk of my health, but he takes a round, and with elite marksmen, his force of max tech marksman is definitely starting to hit hard. Sticky oil bomb comes out for my opponent. Definitely a good tech in my opinion. He puts it straight down the middle, which is going to be very bad against these super vulnerable units. And I also take the sticky oil bomb. I'm definitely expecting him to use it, if I remember correctly, and I wanted to kind of connect here. Even if he didn't take it, it would still probably get triggered by this Vulcan shooting the crawlers here. I end up taking the other oil bomb, so we are basically getting a bit of a T of oil here in the middle. This is about the best chance that I have to win this game. I end up dropping as many overlords as I can. I don't even know where to put these things, because the board is starting to get too cluttered. I think that is not enough space for an overlord here, but I'm not entirely sure. And that is basically all my supply done. I don't even have shields left. My opponent does use shields, but my oil is too far forward for his shields. I end up getting my upgrades. Put a level on these crawlers here. And get temp speed, and I think I run out of time and have nothing really to do, so I end up taking a level on this Arclight. Why not, after all? Oh yeah, I guess my own Vulcans will trigger the oil anyway. Now we have burning all across the front line. An incredible quantity of overlords is moving in on 3 Vulcans and a whole lot of super high level high tech marksmen. Chaff goes down extremely quickly. The anti-missile devices can't keep up with the overload fire. And now it is basically chaffless almost. I guess another wave of my chaff spawned, but it's not lasting even remotely as long as I would hope for it to last. Now that all of this has been settled, it's only the marksmen against the overlords, but this time, I'm getting the tower on this side. And I'm getting it quickly enough and with enough overlords so that I can actually finish this. The battle turns out in my favor, and quite a lot so, but it does not even remotely signal correctly, I think at least, how close this battle was. If I hadn't been so lucky as to drop a second oil bomb here, I think I wouldn't even have remembered the oil, to be honest, in this situation. I think I would have been in deep trouble. My opponent was getting some Mustangs in order to clear the Wasps more quickly, but yeah. I definitely think that against Vulcans, I need to stop putting levels into my crawlers, even if I have subsidized crawler, which has turned out to be quite a lot of value for me, but also, I guess, quite a bit of value for my opponent. I was only able to do this because I got the Giant Hunter and was constantly killing these 3 Vulcans every single turn, basically. So I was dealing with a lot of extra money, and even so, it just shows the power that Marksman Vulcan has. Because he was up against a ton of... How many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 overlords positioned here. He just had 3 giants and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's 6 marksmen. No, 7. There's 1 in the middle here behind that Vulcan. 7 marksmen against 11 overlords. And they were turning around fights that legitimately looked awful for them. And they still turned it around. But in the end, the overlords won, and I definitely think that the decision to have enough chaff on the board at the start was good on my part. The decision to invest into Vulcans was good, to clear the chaff. And putting my faith in this specific case, or relying, I think is a better word, relying on the overlords here, was enough to get it down. But it was so close. Without the Giant Hunter, without the acid landing, I don't think I could have done it. I definitely need to find a better counter against Marksman Vulcan, and I'm thinking that it definitely involves Scorpion. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching and listening, and until next time.